Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about... Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, Chapelwaite, Season 1, the Rundown Review. So I just finally finished Chapelwaite because I was trying to hurry and get through Britannia. And so this is on Epic. And this is the show that is based off of the short story Jerusalem Lot from Stephen King. And it's 10 episodes on Epic. And I have to say, this was a pretty good show. It's creepy, it's eerie, it's fascinating, but it is not perfect, which is why I'm calling this the rant review and everything, or rant rundown review. And the reason why it's not perfect is because, but it's really three elements. One, the execution of certain scenes. Two, the writing of some scenes. And three, the biggest one of them all, the pacing. So, like, when I had got Epic, I was trying to find shows to watch, which they don't have many shows. They got a lot of movies, but not enough shows. And this is one of their original shows. And so I'm like, Chapelwaite, I've never heard of that. So I went to, what I always do, I go to YouTube, I looked at the trailer. I'm like, oh, this looks pretty creepy and eerie and everything. It looks like a psychological thriller. Now, I'm not a huge fan of psychological thrillers, but then there was something that caught my eye in the trailer, a monster. And so before I say what that monster is, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've seen these monsters before in other TV shows and movies. And this is an old school fashion version of one. So this is going to be awesome. You know what I'm saying? And so as I'm watching the show, I'm just like, hey, where the monster at? So I'm watching another episode. I'm like, well, the monster still ain't showed up yet. It took towards the end of episode 4 or maybe episode 5 for that of the monster to show up. I'm all like, wait, hold up. There's 10 episodes and this thing is showing up halfway into the series. And so basically the first half of the season is filler. Nothing but filler. And the thing about this filler is that for the most part, it has no relevance to that of the monster element. Because once you get to the monster element, all that filler becomes like pointless and everything. Except for probably 4 people, but it's not strong enough filler to make you guess what's really going on. You can still figure it out once you get to like the monster element. So I'm just like, this show has a huge, massive pacing issue. Then once the monster is introduced, it takes a lot longer for them to get to the climactic battle and everything. And I'm just like, and then even that was somewhat slightly disappointing. So I'm just like, the biggest problem is the writing and the pacing of the show, which is probably why this show has like an average viewership and everything. When I went to IMDb, when I went to Rotten Tomatoes, everything I read is pretty much just like average. When I look at the critiques of this on Wikipedia, it has like average ratings and stuff. And so I'm just like, this could have been like a gold mine. This could have been the hugest gem of them all. And it was weighed down by the pacing and execution of it. I don't understand why. Now, it has been renewed for a second season, but I also, once again, don't understand why. A lot of the supporting cast is dead. Well, pretty much the entire supporting cast is dead, except for that, the main stars. And not only that, but the way it ended, which is fascinating, and I've never seen anything like that, but it's also odd and strange as to why that would happen. I don't understand why it would get a second season, because this first season is so contained that way it's wrapped up. You don't really need a second season, but of course they want a second season because they want to milk this thing. I don't blame them, but at the same time, the first season it feels like it's just truly complete. What is the point in having a second? And if it has a second, then those main cast that did survive, I doubt they're gonna be in the second season. And I actually like those people. That's what part of the filler was, to make you like them and everything. But now they're not here, and so I don't know exactly what they were thinking, and I don't even know what the second season about, because this came out last year, and I'm not even sure if they began filming on the second season yet, because you know what, virus had to slow down the first season production and stuff. Now, I did say this is based off of Jerusalem Lot, Stephen King's short story, but it is an adaptation. So it's not gonna happen like, word from word, nothing like that. They changed up some stuff, they left some characters out, they left some elements out and everything. That has annoyed some fans and stuff, because I've never read it. That doesn't really bother me, but I have read the synopsis of it, and I'm just like, I don't remember that happening. I don't remember his personality being that way. Hey, what happened to that narrator dude? Because they changed it up to that female lady and stuff. So I'm like, they were leaving people out and leaving certain elements out. So to make this into more of like a TV show type thing, which I understand. But at that same time, this is why it's called chapelwaite and not Jerusalem's Lot and everything. Now, what is the big bad monster of this show that barely shows up? Well, there's technically two. There is a godlike entity that's supposed to be more powerful than that of God and the devil, known as the worm. The worm don't show up. I'm letting you know this here right now. Maybe he'll show up in season 2. Hey, who knows? You know what I'm saying? But elements of his things do show up in the forms of worms, which is what the trailer's about, the whole psychological thing. So when you don't show the actual godlike demon thing known as the worm, when they have tiny worms showing up, it was like, well, what's really the point of that? You know what I'm saying? And so, but the big bad monsters of this series are vampires. Yes. So not only are they vampires, but they went old school look with it. How old school? Like old school as in black and white movies from back in the old people days, silent movies and stuff. So like vampires, they have kind of like this type of distinct look to them. This is the closest thing I could find. Well, this is what they look like in the show. And to get a better look at like their teeth. So basically what they are is that they have these sunken in faces. They have this grayish pale skin. Their fangs, this picture right here is the closest thing I can get to that shows what their fangs look like. Now their fangs don't appear on their two front teeth. They appear right next, very close to their two front teeth. Normally in modern day vampire stuff, their fangs are spaced way further apart to the sides of their mouth. Now on this show, so it gives it that weird kind of toothy, kind of like bat looking type look. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. They have kind of like this pointy type ears, kind of these arch eyebrow type things. And it gives it a nice visual to old school vampires back in the olden movies. They don't look monstrous. They don't look human. I like this look. And more importantly, I love that it's set back in the old days of like the 1800s and stuff. Because when I when I reviewed Penny Dreadful, I was about to say P instead of V. When I reviewed Penny Dreadful about like a year ago or so, one thing I loved about the pilot was that it was vampires set back in the old days. Because, you always see modern day vampire stuff and it's always the same. It's like computers and cell phones and cars and machine guns and bombs and explosion and UV lights from like machines and stuff like that. And, and like it's played out. Like you've seen it a million times before. But what's fascinating about them set in the old days is that like all of that cool tech that could take them out within seconds, no longer available. If you want to tell the townspeople about vampires, you gotta hop on a horse and you have to go, and it takes hours to do that. you have to use old-fashioned weapons and stuff. You have to use the sunlight at your disposal and not just a UV lamp or anything like that. The aesthetic of like the clothing, the way they talk with the whole "I want to drink your blood," so like that, they talk similar to that and everything with that type of like voice, and so it makes it more appealing and it makes it more interesting and it makes it more scary. But the problem is, if you don't have a big climactic battle or more and more skirmishes, that fear kind of goes away. Now, they do have a battle, they do have a skirmish, and it's pretty good, but it could have been greater. In fact, the last battle kind of had me a little disappointed because I'm just kind of like, well, what's the point in adding all those people if you're just going to show one person and stuff? So this show is good, but it's far from being that perfect, in my opinion. And in fact, it can't even be my opinion because it is an average type show. So what exactly is this show about? Well, let's get through the filler part first. Now, normally when I review a show, like a brand new show or any show, I normally do like the first episode. If the first episode isn't fascinating, then I do the first 2 episodes. Well, because the first 2 episodes really was nothing but major filler and didn't even get to the monster, I felt like there was no point in reviewing it, so I'll just do the whole thing as a whole and everything. And I was even kind of confused. I was kind of like, did I imagine a monster? Because I don't want to watch no psychological thriller, because horror type thing, because that's not really my thing. So basically, it starts off with Charles Boone as a little boy. He's laying in bed. He can hear his father digging a hole for some reason at Chapel Lake. And so we hear this terrifying scream that got me really interested and pumped, like, what's going on? Because see, his dad saw him digging a hole. He got pissed, came in the house. The mom tried to protect her son, and that's when you hear the giant scream. The dad was like smacking her around. So I'm like, oh my god, but you couldn't see it, you could just hear it. And it's like, and you could see the fear on the boy's face. And so after that, the father's all like, blood must have blood and stuff like that, and so he's trying to like harm his son and trying to bury him alive, and then the mom has to save him and everything. He had this book, and apparently it's causing him to go nutty in the head. Well, many years ago, we now see Charles Boone, and he's on a boat. And he's on a boat with 3 Native American kids, his kids. And we see him burying his wife at sea. He's a captain. He got a note saying that Stephen Boone, his cousin, who was living in his old house and everything, has passed away, and he has now inherited the house. So, like, he travels back there, and his 3 kids are just most adorable as can be. The oldest one is named Honor, and she's very like, kind. She does everything her father asks her to, even if she doesn't agree with it. And she will voice her opinion, but she will still do as her father says. That's back in those old days. And then you have the second child, Laura, who is more stubborn and does not want to be there. She hates being there because of how like the people treat them, because they are Native American and stuff. So it's kind of like one of those shows. And also her leg is messed up. She has to wear a brace on it. First she wears this giant clunky brace. There's something wrong with her leg. It's like purplish blue. I'm not sure what exactly is wrong with it. And she misses her mom to death. And she clenches on her mom's shell pearls that she gave her, a necklace. And so like her whole thing is that she dreads being on land. She misses her mom, and she's mad at her dad for letting them stay there. And then you have the youngest boy, Tane, who's just a nice little boy. He's not annoying in any way, so thank God for that, because that would have drove me nuts. I get tired when the youngest child is like the most annoying thing in the world on TV shows and animation, And so as they live there, the lady who was kind of like the housekeeper named Chorus or something like that, she talks to like Charles Boone and tells him about some of the strange stuff that went on there. People say this house is cursed. She says Stephen Boone was a strange man. He murdered his daughter. He hung himself. He's buried out in the cemetery near their yard and stuff like that, right? And so Charles Boone is played by Adrian Brody. I have to say, he does an amazing job in this, but the problem I have with him is that his voice is hard to understand what he's saying. He has a deep, gravelly voice, and he speaks with that of a whisper. I never know what this man is saying. And stuff. So, um, basically, for the next 4 or 5 episodes is that of filler. We see the Boone family interacting with the people in town. We see the kids going to school, and they're being discriminated left and right. The Boone kids are being discriminated only because they're Native American, and the white settlers there don't like them and stuff. So they treat them like crap. They treat them like crap at school. They will not allow, or well, at school, it's funny because the teacher tells Loa, like, can you name these 3 states of America and everything? So she goes up there hobbling with like her brace, and she aces it. You know what I'm saying? She's able to name all 3 of those states and everything that's in America, which surprises the teacher. But then sadly, when she goes back to her desk, a little boy kicks her leg with the brace on it, causing her to trip. Her brother gets pissed and he starts smacking that taller boy. Then another boy looks like he's gonna be nice and help her up, only to grab her necklace and break it. She's pissed, she hollers, she screams, and now people don't want them in school because they're causing a ruckus and they think they're bringing diseases. So basically, that's what the first 4 or 5 episodes are. Town people don't want the kids there because they think, oh, you're Native American, you must have diseases, you must got the pox, you're gonna kill us. That's why my little girl is sick right now. But the little girl was sick before they even came to town. And the little girl is creepy like I don't know what. And so they hate it there and don't want to be there at all. And it sucks to see them being discriminated, but did we have to see that for 4 or 5 episodes? And then as for Charles Boone himself, because the Boone family is literally to be cursed and everything, they don't want him there. They think all this strange stuff is going to happen. So you got this one man named Samuel, and he's kind of like the old person in town who just hates on stuff and causes everybody else to riot and stuff. He hates Charles Boone only because he's a Boone. He hates Stephen Boone. He hates Stephen Boone's father and everything, Philip. He hates the Boones with passion. And he causes everybody in town to hate on that entire family. So much that Charles has like a wood factory type thing, and none of the workers there want to work for him. It gets so bad that he has to beat one of them up and everything in the bar. Now he does befriend a young black dude in this series, and that's really the only friend that he has, named Abel, and because he's willing to work and stuff like that. And so basically Boone is just getting hated on for 4 or 5 episodes, all that filler, and it's all like, why? Because it's pointless once the monsters show up. Well, while in the house, there's a woman named Rebecca Morgan, and when she hears that there are new Boones in town, she takes this opportunity to make an investment. She's a writer, and she's been heralded to that of the right for this like established newspaper company, but she doesn't want to do that. She wants to write fiction, or better yet, what she sees going on in the chapelwaite house. So she becomes the governess there. Her mom is opposed to that, but she does it anyway. And so she takes care of the kids and she tries to get them involved in church, only for the Samuel to be all like, you're not welcome here, Boone, and everything. Like, you're gonna bring the devil in town and stuff like that. And so the kids and Charles is not allowed to attend church because the people are so backwards in their head. You gotta remember, this is back in the old hateful days and stuff. And so the family's just like not getting along there. But while in the house, they start to hear some strange noises. Charles thinks there are rats living in the walls and stuff. He gets an exterminator. Exterminator, look, man, I can't find no rats. I don't know what you got. So then all of a sudden, the paranormal freaky stuff happens. Now, the paranormal freaky stuff, the psychological stuff, that happens very early on in like the second, maybe first episode. And basically what it is Charles is driven mad by worms. Every time he takes a bath, all of a sudden the water disappears and it's nothing but worms. He's in a bath of worms. When he goes to shave, there are worms coming out his nose and everything. And so it's freaking him out. So he needs answers and everything. And as he's in town, one of the women's all like, I saw him. I saw Stephen Boone. He killed my little girl and all this other stuff. And they blaming Charles for bringing the devil into town. So Charles is like, I'm going to prove that Stephen Boone is dead. So he digs up his grave and nothing's there. The casket is completely empty. So now he's starting to think Stephen Boone is still alive and living in the walls in his house. So he goes back to that Corliss woman and he demands that she tells him the truth, because he can tell she's hiding something. And she finally does tell the truth. The truth is there was something strange going on with Stephen and his father. And so like how Stephen Boone's daughter died is that some freaky stuff was going on with Stephen and them with this book, the same book that Charles' dad had, this demonic type book. And Philip Boone was chasing that of Stephen Boone's daughter, his granddaughter. She trips and falls down the stairs in the basement, and that's how she died. And the scissors went in her neck when she fell. Stephen was distraught and upset by this, so he never killed his daughter. But he is a vampire, and so is Philip. And that woman saw so much weird stuff going on, she just turned her head. Why? Because Philip told her literally, if you don't do what I say, I'll bleed you dry, in a vampire-y type voice and everything. And so she did all that, and now she no longer lives there. And so he knows something strange is going on. Now, while in town, every time he goes to travel this and there around town, there's a strange woman who stops him in the middle of the road. And she's all like, find the book, Charles, find the book. He don't know who she is. He don't know how she knows his name. He has no idea what this book is, but she's creepy and eerie and freaky. Then she goes to his barn and talks to his son, and she's always eating apples. And then she gives the son an apple. She's all like, tell your father to find that book. And the boy is freaked out. Let's get in a little bit of the townspeople. You have Father Barreau, or Father Baruff. He is the pastor. He's a man of God. He's also a fornicator. He's married to a woman. He's married to Samuel's daughter, but they had 2 kids. They're dead because of strange happenings that nobody can explain, because people have never seen the vampires in town. Only a few people. Now, this is part where some of the filler starts to be a little bit important, slightly. He messes around with a woman, and they have a kid. The kid comes out highly deformed. Yeah, so the child, who I will show up in just a couple of seconds, the eyes are completely missing, and they're kind of like fused in, so there's like nothing there. The arms of the child are missing, and where the limbs are, they're twisted in little stems in deformity and everything. This is what the child looks like. Yeah. So nobody knows that the pastor is the father of like this child. And so they ask the mother, like, who did you make a baby with? But she won't say and everything. So what's going on with them is that at some point they want to get out of town because they keep the baby, and nobody's really picking on the baby because of the deformity, but something's going on with her and she wants to leave town. And so she tells the pastor the truth and everything. And the truth is that there are these strange people in town, and they make me do stuff and they feed off me. He's like, what are you talking about? She shows him her thigh. He's all like, yeah, that's the disease thing you have. She's like, no, it's not a disease. These are teeth marks. And basically, there are these people in town that are devilish, and they drink the blood from like regular human people. And this is where all like these teeth marks are coming from. And she's all like, we need to get out of town. It's cursed, blah, blah. So He's gonna go with her out of town, gets like a ticket, but then he decides to stay because he wants to combat this evil. She goes on like a chariot as soon as she can out of here. That's when the town scandal happens and they find out his wife overhears them two talking and finds out that he cheated on her. She tells like her father and some of the other people, and they're pissed at the father. He's a fornicator and everything. And so as his mistress is like trying to get out of town, she is stopped by the woman doesn't even have a name. They just call her the Apple Lady online. Like on Wikipedia. They didn't even give her a name, but that's the creepy Apple Lady who talks to the Boones. Her and some other people come out. They're pale skinned, so you think they're vampires, but no. They are the vampire's servants. And they kill the crap out of her, stab her over and over. I don't know what they do to the baby, but the baby's never seen after this. Now let's get into the constable. The constable is really the only person who can really stand the Boones, but he kind of wants them just to stay at their house and never come into town because, you know, bad stuff happens and everything because the town people don't like them. And so, like, because there's a missing man and everything. And because the vampires, they don't really go around killing and eating people because that would bring up too much suspicion, so they just bleed people. His wife, Mary, is very ill. She's like in the bed. He doesn't know what's wrong with her. But then at some point in time, he comes in and he sees Philip Boone in the room. And Philip Boone like runs out the way and everything. And he checks on his wife and she has 2 holes in her neck. He fed off her. Now, here's the thing about these vampires. It's kind of like a Buffy thing, kind of. Where, okay, the vampires drink your blood and bite you, but then you have to drink their blood, and once then you have the template of being a vampire. Once you die, you become that of the vampire. They have no reflection. Crosses burn them and keeps them at bay, and chopping off their head is really the only way to kill them, that in sunlight. Now you can stab them in the chest, and it can be by any object, as long as it penetrates that heart. So no wooden stakes, nothing like that, but you can just use a knife and stab them in the chest over and over. So anyway, she's being more and more ill and a little bit more delirious, so he decides he's going to end her suffering by smothering her. He kills her only for her to reawaken as a vampire. He had no idea. And so now he keeps her tied up in the tub or in the bed, one of the two, I can't remember which one. And so this is now getting close to towards the end of episode 4 and then the 5, where everything's starting to come to fruition. So back with Charles, he's trying to figure out more about, because he's being stopped by people talking about like the book and this and that. And so he is like, you know, he goes into town because he goes to this insane asylum because apparently a lot of his family members have been taken there. He knows that the crazy illness is in him, and it can spread to like his entire family and stuff. It's in their bloodline and everything. So while in the insane asylum, he leaves, and because a lot of his family members were like admitted and stuff. So at this point in time, some of the townspeople are starting to go clannish on him. And so they want him out. So they put these hoods on their heads and everything, and they try to spook him out, only for him to defend himself with him and his family. But then they get like the jump on him, but then somebody gets the jump on. Oh, now I remember. He has the gun. He goes outside to handle one of them. He beats one of them up, but then one of them hits him from behind. And then his daughter and the governess comes out with these long rifles and scare everybody. They're not afraid to take up arms. I tell you that right here, right now, especially when the vampires come. And so he knows that, you know, something's up. And that the vampires are probably going to come, or at least Stephen Boone is going to come back, and he's come back. He lives somewhere in his house. So the family, they prepare themselves for that. Stephen Boone and and Philip Boone and stuff like that. And I can't remember. I think there's 2 skirmishes because he does prepare for like the Boones and stuff, the return. And so him and everybody in the house, his whole family, they're decked out with guns. They're staking it out. They're waiting for Stephen Boone to come back. And so I think Abel's there too. And then something happens where he goes more mad and everything. I think he does meet Stephen Boone, and Stephen tells him, "Find the book, and your family will be safe," and blah blah stuff like that. Bullets have no effect on these people, and so at some point in time, Honor kisses Abel on the cheek and she likes him, and he doesn't share that affection back, and she doesn't understand why. And he's like, "I'm sorry, but we can't be together because of what I am." He's black. And she's all like, "Well, I'm not white," and everything. But he's like, "No, but you're light skinned and you will be mistaken from a faraway distance as being white. And if the people see us together, they will hang me," and everything. So she's upset by this. And I love her stubborn like look on her face. Like, she does whatever people say, but you can tell she's stubborn and pissed off. So at some point in time, Charles is met by that of a man named Jacob. Jacob is this old-fashioned, old-school looking vampire who talks very slow. He's played by the dude who was in Van Helsing, the TV series, who played that crazy man who chopped off people's fingers and turned into a vampire. This man plays those crazy roles, man. I think he played like Lex Luthor at one point in time, one of the clones. He's played like Fear in The Haunting Hour. He was a vampire, a serial killer. This man plays those dark roles, and he's great at playing these roles. So Jacob tells him, "You can't give the book to Stephen because bad stuff will happen. Give it to me and your family will be safe." And he tells Charles where to find the book. The book is buried in the cemetery of this church. The pastor kids in their graves. Not sure why it's buried there, but it is. Oh, that's right, to keep the vampires out because the cross is on the church. So at some point in time, Loa starts to get really upset at her father and everything, and Stephen Boone has been talking to her in secret. And so she finds out that Rebecca has been writing a story about their family. This pisses off all the kids. Charles finds out he doesn't want no more to do with Rebecca, but he does need Rebecca to help protect his family while he goes off looking for this and that. Anyway, Stephen Boone lures that of so I forget. Stephen Boone's supposed to come back for the book. Charles don't have the book yet. So he stakes out his house and everything, or he goes somewhere. So he makes the kids go with Rebecca to her house and her mom's house. Laura gets so pissed that she leaves and she goes back to the house. And then when she does, that's when Stephen Boone captures her. And when Charles is looking for her on the road, he sees her dead on the road and everything. And she's lifeless. So the whole family's upset and he buries her at sea. Then all of a sudden, he's waiting for Stephen Boone and Philip and them to come to the house. So he has his gun ready, the family's there. But it's not Stephen. It's a knock at the door and talking about, "Daddy, let me in. I'm cold." That family got freaked out. It's little Lola. She's been turned into a vampire. And then when they open the door, boy, she is creepy looking. So she's all like, "Look, Daddy, I don't need the brace no more. I'm stronger than ever now," and everything. And so Stephen Boone takes her away because he just wants a new daughter and everything because his dad killed his daughter and stuff. So now Charles is going to look for that book. He goes out to the church cemetery. He digs up the grave. There's two little kids in there from the pastor's original kids, and he finds the book. As soon as he touches that book, the freakiness happens. He can see a vision. That vision is a red sky. There's a solar eclipse going on. Somehow this vampire god has caused the moon to take place of the sun. And there are dead bodies all around the beach, and Jacob's just walking near the dead bodies all happy. So you could tell what's going to happen. The vampires want to make it dark 24/7 so they can rule the earth and everything. Then he is stopped by Philip and Stephen Boone, and then his daughter is there talking about, "Daddy, just give me the book and everything. But he won't do it. He takes it back with him. They can't enter the church because there are crosses all around the gate. He sees this and realizes this. When he goes home, he's all like, "Look, we have to prepare for this house because the vampires are coming for this book." All of them. So he gets as much wood as he can. He boards up the windows, and then he gets the kids with paint, and they start painting crosses on the house. And so he goes and he talks to the constable and everything, and he talks to the pastor. And so by this time he is driven mad because he keeps the book tied to his chest, and it causes normal people to go nuts, but it's in the hands of the vampires, the dead, it's completely fine. So he's driving so insane that he's freaking out Rebecca. He takes all the horses and he lets them go. Now they have no way to escape when the vampires come, and he has like 4 nooses in the basement because he's getting ready to hang his family. She knocks him out, ties him up. No, I don't think she ties him up, but he's in the bed. And when he recuperates, the constable is there, and maybe the pastor. And so they're talking, and the constable has now his wife with him, his vampire wife. And he, to make sure she doesn't burn, he puts like a sheet around her and everything, a blanket, and he has her tied up in their basement in a tub. And the book is no longer there. Rebecca says she gave the book to Mary, the constable's wife, because only she can touch it and be fine with it. After that, his mind is clear. And so now him, the pastor, the constable, Rebecca, and the 2 kids are gonna, hold down the fort and fight the vampires and stuff. He tells Abel, go into town, get the rest of the townspeople. This is around episode 6 or so, 7, maybe something like that. Like I said before, it's very slowly paced. After the vampires and all this other freaky stuff start happening, it's still very slowly paced. And so here come the vampires. But not only the vampires, but their human servants. The vampires can't enter the house because of the crosses, but the human servants can. But they have to find a way in. So they all got their guns and rifles and they're ready for them. Rebecca is useless when it comes to fighting people. A woman sneaks into the house through like the tunnel basement, and she hesitates to shoot, and the lady gets away. They all like, so they tell the constable, they all like, you have to sniper her and everything when she comes out the barn house, because the tunnel leads into the barn house. Because she alerts everybody, they'll know how to get in. So as soon as that lady come out, she's waving her arms, and boom, he plugs her and everything. But it was too late. Everybody saw her signaling them, and then they start to come in. So now it's time for the fight. And it's a pretty nice fight. It's not huge, but it's nice to see. It's tons of wrestling around, it's fighting, some they're hitting people. The men do something interesting. They take like a giant, like, what is them type of like fishing spear gun type things, and they shoot Philip Boone. But it doesn't kill him, and he is attached to a rope. So the 3 men, they're trying to pull him up through like the 2nd story window, but Philip is a vampire, so he's stronger than that of a human, so he's pulling himself back down. So they pulling him all back up, and he goes on up. So then it's a huge fight. He stabs the constable with the spear thing that's sticking through his skin, and so the constable is hurt now throughout the whole thing. So it's just like the pastor, and it's just like Charles fighting off Philip Boone, and they're trying their best. They pin him up, Charles pins him up against the wall because the spear thing's still in him, and he takes an axe, and he goes and chops that man's head off. Then, to add insult to injury, he takes the decapitated head of Philip Boone and tosses it out the window, and it lands at the feet of Stephen Boone. And he's all like, I'll get you for this, cousin. You killed my father. And he runs off. Oh man, I was not expecting that. Anyways, more of the vampire people are coming in, and they had to make their last stand in like a cellar, but there's a problem. Tane is missing, and he has a knife, and he's getting ready to like kill the people coming in the house, and he's in the cupboard. But all of a sudden, Lola's in the house, and she kills that of the human followers and everything. And she tells Tane, like, it'll be all right. I'm not going to hurt you. And so they go, and he gets the book from Mary, and he gives it to Lola. And then the next thing you know, the vampires leave. And so the father doesn't understand what's going on. And Tane's are like, I'm sorry, father, but they said if they just get the book, they'll leave us alone. That's what happened. So he gave it to Lola. Lola has now joined with Jacob and their people. Apple Girl does not like Lola because she did what she couldn't get the book. And also, Apple Girl is just a human. She wants to be a vampire. She talks to that of Lola in secret and tells her, because like, Jacob is happy now that what Lola did. And now the humans have to feed once again from that of the vampires. No. Lola has to feed because she's newly born into a vampire. So she feeds off of Apple Girl. And Apple Girl tells her, I want to be a vampire more than anything because I want to get the people that have hurt me and made fun of me in the past. And I can tell you're like that too. We're the same. We're vengeful and everything. And so then at some point, the human servants, they all drink the blood of the vampires because Jacob is about to, get rid of the sun and the stars and everything. This is when the Boone family goes into town and tells the town people. Charles know they won't believe in anything he says, but Rebecca's all like, we have to show them that of Mary, the constable's wife. So they wrap her up in a blanket, they take her into town, they plead their case. Samuel, of course, doesn't want to hear this and everything, and neither does the pastor's wife. So they're like, we'll show you. And they take off the blanket of Mary, and she slowly starts to burn and everything. And they're like, you see her fangs, you see how her skin burns and everything. She's running around town trying to like get at people, but they all like only the crosses will keep her at bay. So everybody's pulling up their crosses and she's like, she can't get to them. Then she sets on fire because the sun is burning her skin so much that she sets on fire and she dies. The town people now believe him and he's all like, look, we have to go to that Jerusalem's lot during the day because sunlight is our best way of killing them other than chopping off their head. And then the doctor dude, he's all like, well, you say they feed on blood, right? Well, perhaps we should just stab them in the heart. That's where the blood goes. And maybe that will work. Because at that point, he never tried that. And so everybody's gearing up, right, in town. Then the pastor's wife talks to him and she's all like, are you going to fight too? He's like, I have to combat this evil. And she's all like, well, I forgive you because that's what the Bible says. And then she takes them back to their house and they have to eat. I was not expecting this. I'm all like, I knew somebody was going to portray somebody. I was thinking maybe it was Rebecca because she just looks evil for some reason. But I'm like, somebody has to portray somebody in this series, right? Other than that of Lola and stuff. And so it's the pastor's wife. When he's eating the food, he can't barely move and he collapses. He's been poisoned by his wife. She's all like, you fornicated on me, you cheated, this and that, but we're gonna meet each other again in the underworld. And as he's trying to crawl his way out of there, she flips him over and she starts force feeding him more poison and food. Then Charles is looking for the pastor, like, yo, man, where you at? So he goes in the house, he sees the pastor's dead on the ground, on the floor. He's gone. He's completely taken out this show. I'm like, why? The pastor was interesting. The pastor could have lasted for a couple of seasons and all this other stuff. They took out a major character, same way From did. They took out that pastor. I'm like, why are they doing this? Why are you killing characters that are useful to this show and that are interesting? And then he goes over to the wife who's sitting at the table. She is dead because she poisoned herself after that. Then there's Samuel who's crying, talking about, curse you, Boone. You brought the Boone pox and everything. The town, and you killed my entire family, and your entire family killed my family because that was his grandkids that was in the cemetery with the book in there and stuff. And so he takes a gun and he blows his brains out. So Abel's all like, well, where the pastor at? He's like, he dead. So Charles and everybody looks up at the sky and they start to see the clouds are acting weird and it's starting to get dark while it's supposed to be daytime. And Charles is all like, it's happening. So he tells his daughter, you ain't coming with us. She wants to fight. But he's all like, no, you stay here at the church and you protect all the kids and the women. So all the men and Rebecca go out the Jerusalem's lot to go and fight the vampires. Now, if you was expecting this big climactic battle between humans and vampires at night, just like I was, you're sadly mistaken. there's a skirmish between the townspeople and the vampires and stuff. The human subjects have now been turned. They're out in the field waiting to turn and everything, because after that they got hung. They got choked, so they can like come back to life and everything. So you see a little bit of skirmish. You see some vampires being taken down. You see some humans getting killed. Then you see Charles go inside like the chapel of Jerusalem's Lot, and you see the townspeople. They had to flee into the woods because more and more vampires are coming. So they kind of cower away a little bit to regroup, and so they see a bunch of dead people in the field. And they're like, what's wrong with these people? They turn into vampires. And then they start attacking. So then you see the men charge at the vampires. And you're like, yeah, it's going to be a battle. Nope, they cut right into the chapel. So you got Jacob. He's reading from the Book of the Dead type thing. And Lola's there. And he's all like, getting my daughter back. You ain't getting that book back. And blah, 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 blah. And so, because Jacob did keep his word. Like, he promised Lola that he wasn't going to harm nobody in chapelwaite as long as they get that book. And so, him and Charles, they try to fight a little bit, but then Apple Girl comes in. And she's sneaking around with a knife. And he instructs Lola to kill her father. So she goes there with a knife, getting ready to kill her father and stuff. And, she's all like, this is for mother, or this is what mother will want, some crap like that. And then she stabs Apple Girl. She betrays the vampires and sides with that of her father. Because here's the thing about these vampires. If you want to be evil, you choose to be evil. You want to keep some goodness and protect those you love, you can. Why I say this? Because the same thing happened with that of Rebecca. Her father's a vampire. She found her father after 20-something years. And he goes and he tries to turn her, but she doesn't want to turn. But he doesn't kill her because he loves her and he leaves and everything. So now it's the big fight between Jacob and Charles, and it's a good fight and everything. He presses him up against the wall. He takes that axe. He stabs him through like the head with like this needle type thing, and then he chops his head off with one clean swipe. Lola screams like, ah! So then, but there's a problem. The sky is still dark. Not only is the sky dark during the day, but this is what's so interesting that I like about this show. There's something unique and different. The stars are imploding. This spell not only causes the moon to get in front of the sun, but it causes all the stars to implode, so there will be no type of light whatsoever. So what's going to stop this evil curse, you wonder? Closing the book. Rebecca just closes the book and everything's hunky-dory now. And so, like, the sky turns back to daytime and all the vampires burn up and it's over. 20 minutes into the last episode. So I'm just like, what the last 30 minutes gonna be about? Nothing but sappiness. This is what gets really strange, and I'm just like, why would he make this decision? It's unique and I've never seen it before, but why would he do this? He brings Lola back to the home. His two other kids don't trust her and don't want her there, but Lola is now nice again, and he's gonna keep her. But he can't take her into town because the people will kill her, so she has to stay there at chapelwaite. Now here's the thing, he tells her we have to protect this book. He's all like, I bet you anything there are more vampires out in the world and they're going to come, because they're drawn to the book, so they're going to find it no matter what. He's all like, he has to be the one to keep it safe. And she's like, no, I'll just take it away and everything. He's like, you're not strong enough, I have to do it. This fool is going to sacrifice himself. And she's all like, no, father, I don't want you living the way I live. Like, it's a terrible feeling being a vampire. Oh, by the way, let me just say this. There's something I don't, well, actually, I'll get into that a little bit later when I do the conclusion part. So anyway, so he tells Abel go into town, get the doctor and tell him to bring his tools. I'm like, what is he doing? Like, he's going to experiment on his daughter at first? No. He wants his daughter to turn him into a vampire so that he can be able to hold the book without it causing him to go mad. Oh, by the way, the whole worms and the hallucinations he's having, that all stopped once the vampires came into fruition into the show. So it's like, what happened to that? So anyway, he has her turn him. Then he has the doctor operate on him, cut his chest wide open and place the book inside his chest. Yeah. So he says his goodbyes to his family. They're upset. He hops on a tiny little boat and he just goes out to sea. he's all like, he has to get this book far away from the vampires and calls them to chase after him and all this other stuff and stuff, blah, 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 stuff like that. Why would he sacrifice himself like that? Like, why? So Lola tells him, I love you, father. He just looks at her and just keeps on palling. Don't even say nothing to her. So then at that point in time, Honor accepts her back into the life, and they go back to Chapelwaite. And it ends like that. I'm like, dude, why are you so stupid to sacrifice yourself like that, to turn yourself into a vampire, to place the Book of the Dead inside your chest? Of course, it ain't gonna hurt him, but then he figures nobody will be able to get to it. All they gotta do is cut you open. Hold you down, cut you open, or make you burn. Because they got human subjects and everything. And he's on that tiny little boat with just a blanket to cover himself up. So it's like he could easily get burnt by the sunlight and everything. So this show is good. It's just not perfect. The writing can be hit or miss at times. And there's way too much filler. And even when the vampires show up, there's still way too much filler. And I just don't understand that. And so the thing is like, when it comes to him in that book, why did he do that? All he had to do was what somebody did a long time ago. Put it in the, like, bury it underground, right? Put a bunch of crosses around there. Put it in a church where the cross is on the gate and vampires can't get in. Because think about it. Yeah, the human subjects can get to it. But think about it. It's been buried underground in that coffin for many years, and nobody tried to ever get to it. So what? So if so many years passed and nobody got to it because it was fortified with crosses and this and that, then the humans and the vampires weren't gonna get to it. So that's what he just should have done, or he should have threw it out to sea, put it in a box, put some rocks in that box, throw it, let it get to the ground of the sea. Put some crosses around it. The humans can't swim down there because they will suffocate and die. The vampires can't get to they can go down to the bottom, but they can't get to the box because it has crosses on it. And so, like, why didn't he do that? Also, it was kind of a sad battle. Like, the vampires supposed to be stronger than humans, and they were a few episodes in after the vampires got introduced, but then once the climactic battle happened, now the vampires are getting taken out left and right and everything. And all the supporting cast members, the pastor, Samuel's daughter, the constable's wife, the pastor's mistress, they're all gone. They all dead. So what was the point? They can't come back in season 2. And then so Abel tells him, the vampires are gone and I'm the last one. So like, what, the townsmen, did they die too? Like, it's never explained. And so then the whole hallucinations with the worms, that all stopped once vampires came into the show. So why did all that stop? It's like this show is badly structured at times, It's good and it's nice to watch, but it's just, there's a huge it's why it has an average rating and everything. Also, what in the world is season 2 gonna be about? Oh, I forgot to mention, before he kills himself and turns into a vampire, he has a flashback of his wife, the only speaking line she has, and she tells him, those are not your kids. Biologically, you have to do what you have to do. So those 3 Native American kids aren't even his. They made us assume they was his and mixed with white the entire time until the 10th episode, where it's revealed he's just their adoptive father and everything. I'm all like, that takes the emotional weight out of it and stuff. Cause they would have been fine. They could have literally went someplace else where they was accepted, but he made them stay there. And I'm just kind of like, dude. And so, yeah, that's basically Chapelwaite in a nutshell and everything. Now, wasn't that spooky? All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.